call Doris.
Okay, 14. All of the restrictions and covenants herein set forth shall continue to be binding upon the developers as owners of tracts in the subdivision and any other owner, their successors or assigns, and upon the purchasers of said tracts for a period of 25 years from the date of this instrument is filed for the record in the office, shall automatically be extended thereafter for successive periods of 10 years, provided, however, that the owners of 75% of the tracts may be at any time release all of the tracts hereby restricted from any one of said retraction or covenants, and may release any tract from any restriction or covenant after the end of the first 25-year period. Such the determination may be signified either by instrument or multiple counterparts of at least 75% of the owners, or by resolution adopted by the association by at least 75% of the members. And in either case, the instrument or resolution shall be filed or recorded in the deed records of both Real and Uvalde counties. Here, I think we want to simply remove this and have the continuing deed restrictions.
Seems like pretty much invalid at this point.
No, it's not.
What do you mean, Doug? What's invalid?
It said, I guess I missed something, but it said, that up till 25 years, and it's been, 34, 35 years since it's...
You're saying you can't start making changes before 25 years? Is that what it was?
Well, I mean, that part's irrelevant.
Right.
What happens up to 25 years. But what it says is that after 25 years, we could vote to dissolve the deed restrictions. And I think what we want is to have continuing deed restrictions.
Yeah, because it says automatically.
And I don't want in the future for them to be, I mean, they can modify the deed restrictions if they want to go the process. I don't want to have a dump the deed restrictions.
Yeah, no. I understand what you're saying with that, yeah.
Yeah, because it says it
I just want to have
automatically-
continuing deed restrictions.
Yeah.
Now, it does also say that those tracts, that the restrictions and covenants can be removed. Does that mean then that, I don't know how covenant, was that one of the words that was defined up here, mean that they set aside certain tracts that got special privileges, kind of like Animal Farm. Some people are more special than others.
Right.
Is that something that also then could be changed because, I mean, it doesn't say for 1,000 years people get to have those special goodies attached to their property that no one else gets to have. That's how I'm possibly reading that, but I don't really know.
What this says is that the deed restrictions, that tracts could be released from the deed restrictions.
And covenants.
Well,
Okay.
from any restriction or covenant, I think that falls under the covenant. I think covenant's one of those words that snuck in there from when they push things together.
Okay.
Because they haven't mentioned
Covenants
here
before.
previously.
This is why I'm looking
But
for
I
the
think
definition. They
covenant
don't have
simply
it.
is part of the duplication that happens in our derivative of
The
English
crappy
law.
merger. Okay.
Anyhow, I don't think covenant means anything other than the same things we're talking about here. English law has a way of duplicating things because the English were conquered by the Normans from France.
Okay.
But I just want to get rid of this and say we want to have continuing deed restrictions. This says we can allow certain tracts to be set free from the deed restrictions. And I don't want that.
But it has to be 75%.
It has to be 75%, but still, I don't want that.
Yeah.
We know that the deed restrictions can be changed, period.
But we want them to continue.
I think this is something that's outlived its usefulness, but it's still there, and I personally don't want it.
I guess what I have not said very eloquently is this. We have certain tracts that have certain privileges. It was set up this way. It no longer has to be that way. Are we all just fine with certain people get to do certain things that other people don't get to do?
Well, it was the size of the tract that determined that.
At that time. And you're talking about the tracks in 17, right?
The other question I would have about that is, and I'm not an attorney, obviously, and I obviously don't have a lot of experience with homeowner associations, but it sounds like that's a grandfather thing in there. I mean,
And it could be.
It is. Jane, this doesn't say anything about imposing new restrictions on tracts that had that historically. This says things about releasing people from the restrictions. It doesn't, in other words, this would release.
Somebody from
This
line.
isn't a mechanism to impose restrictions on things that previously had privileges. It is not for taking privileges away. It's for removing restrictions from everybody else.
I understand that. I just was wondering when it came to the word covenant, whether that was something that was being applied, that was a word that applied to sort of an agreement that was present where, and could that then be applied to, you know, these lots that get to have farm animals and whatever else they get to have that other people don't. I just don't. I just don't understand that. I mean, it's not like these properties are half a mile down the road. I mean, I don't even see any logic other than they have a few more 100 feet. I mean, but they're right still next to neighbors. They're still.
Yeah, I mean, they had multiple. They were multi-acre tracts that. Let me put this in the notes.
Okay.
I'm not trying to argue with you.
No,
I just want to be sure I've covered everything. Okay. Says, I wrote, remove, let me put it another way. We want to have continuing deed restrictions. And then I wrote, what is the meaning of covenant, in quotes, in this paragraph? Does it apply to the exceptions of paragraph 17?
And I doubt it does. I was just sort of pondering.
Well, I'll put the question in there and you can ask, you're going to be talking to lawyers, so ask the lawyer.
And maybe this isn't an issue that we care about. I don't know. I have just found that very kind of rather odd, but maybe it's not odd. I mean, it seems odd to me.
Since I go back
So
to the
far,
beginning of this,
yeah.
to 74 or 5 anyway, it was just the understanding that that they were large enough to be basically ranchettes or farm. Nobody ever used that term. It would have been silly, but
But it's just a couple
was
of 2 acres. Or
it
something,
was
right?
5, something like that.
Okay.
That's what it was considered, and and I always accepted it. That is what it is.
Yeah, I guess just as a person who stumbles upon this in 2008, I'm thinking, why do certain lots get to have roosters that crow for 20 hours a day?
It doesn't say anything about roosters. It says things about that roosters could fall under the Noxious Animals Act. It says horses and cows.
So, I've been told, okay, I was told before that it was permissible because it was that property with that exception that they could
That's
have.
what it says here.
Okay, then I have either been misinformed, which is ultimately
It says
my fault.
horses and cows.
Oh, okay.